The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
One time, the Chafetz Chaim was in his home when there was a knock on the door. He answers the door, and there's a man standing there. He says, "Shalom Aleichem, Rebbe. My name is Yechiel Spero." And he says, "Oh, Yechiel, I remember that you learned here." "Yes, Rebbe, I learned here 40 years ago." Chafetz Chaim, like every Rebbe would ask, says, "How are you doing? How are you learning?" He says, "Of course I'm learning, and I'm doing quite well." He says, "How's your parnasa?" He says, "Actually, my parnasa is better than anybody could imagine. I'm making 2,000 rubles a month. At this time, the normal wage was 40 rubles a month. He was making 50 times the amount of a regular person." And so the Chafetz Chaim says to him, "Can I ask what you do?" He says, "Yes. The wood, which is unavailable in Poland, is readily available in the Ukraine. And what I do is, I take it from the Ukraine, and I bring it over to Poland." So he says, "But how do you get it past the border?" He says, "Well, the man standing at the border, he takes his taxes very seriously. So I went over to him, I struck up a conversation with him, I shared a cigarette with him, and then I asked him how much he makes a month. He tells me he makes 100 rubles a month. I said, "How would you like to double your salary?" He says, "How?" And I told him, "You have to do nothing." He says, "What do you mean nothing?" He says, "Turn a blind eye." Sounds easy enough. And for the last 35 years, that's what he does. He doubles his salary, and I make 2,000 rubles a month. Baruch Hashem, I'm quite wealthy. Chafetz Chaim looks at him, he says, "Are you crazy? If you get caught, they're going to shoot you." He says, "I know. But the bribery works, and therefore I'm not worried." Chafetz Chaim spoke to him a little more, and then he says, "Come with me to the yeshiva." He walks into the yeshiva, and he brings Yechiel Spero with him. And he brings him up to the Aron, and he begins to speak to the Bachrim. He says, "Bachrim, this is Yechiel Spero. He's making 2,000 rubles a month." And he explains how the process works. He says that even though the taxes are very high, and they're unlawful, but he's able to bribe the guard, and the guard takes the bribes, and he doesn't have to pay for the taxes. The Chafetz Chaim says, "I want you to know, Bachrim, the Malchusa in Shamayim, the kingdom in Shamayim, is Ke'ein Malchusa Da'ara. It is just like the kingdom down here on earth. And just like down here on earth, you can bribe your way to get past the authorities, so too in Shamayim. When they're going to judge you, and they're going to ask you how many mitzvahs you did and how many averos you did. And then they're going to go through your entire life. And you might be deserving of a terrible punishment. Who knows what they can do to you? You can bribe the guards. You can bribe the malachim. You know how? Kol hamerachem al habriyos merachamin olav min hashamayim. If somebody is compassionate and merciful with people, then in Shamayim they're merciful with you too. Moshe Rabbeinu was merachem al habriyos. He had compassion and mercy, and because of that, he earned the right to have Shamayim be merachem, be compassionate on his children, on the Jewish people. The Chafetz Chaim learned this beautiful lesson, shared it, and that's how we can earn our ability to bribe Shamayim, be compassionate and merciful to others, and there's no telling what you can make.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org